Year-old Tyerin Griffin of Wilmington faces several charges, including first-degree murder in connection with the fatal shooting inside the Shades of Blue Bar and Lounge. She was taken to a correctional institution without bail.
On a cold April night in 2016, the Shades of Blue Bar and Lounge in Wilmington, Delaware was packed. It was the kind of spot where people came to dance, to drink, to party, and to celebrate life. But what started as a birthday celebration would soon turn into one of the most shocking crimes the city had seen in years. By the end of the night, one man would be dead, another would be on the run, and Wilmington would be left talking about the murder for years to come. The man at the center of it all was 25-year-old Tyerin Griffin. He was in a club to celebrate his own birthday. Imagine that, your 25th birthday, surrounded by friends, music blasting, drinks flowing, the lights flashing. It should have been a night of joy, but instead, it became the night that would define the rest of his life. Witnesses said that Griffin took the DJ's microphone in the middle of the celebration. At first, it seemed like he was just joining the fun, but he didn't take the mic to hype up the party. He didn't grab it to perform a song or make the crowd go wild. Instead, he used it to give a birthday shout-out. And the shout-out wasn't for himself. It was for another man inside the club, 30-year-old Nathaniel Mangrum. The two men were known to each other, but not in a friendly way. People later testified that there had been tension, bad blood, problems between them. And in that moment, in front of the whole crowd, Griffin called out Mangrum's name on the microphone, wishing him a happy birthday. On the surface, it sounded like a kind gesture, but just moments later, the bar exploded in chaos. Shots rang out inside Shades of Blue. The music stopped. People screamed. Lights flashed as bodies scattered, ducking and running for cover. When the smoke cleared, Nathaniel Mangrum lay on the floor. He had been hit by gunfire. The man who had just been given a birthday shout-out was now dying inside the same club. Griffin fled the scene, but his name was already tied to the shooting. Witnesses pointed to him. Surveillance cameras caught images, and soon, Wilmington police had locked in on their suspect. But what made this case different was not just the violence, it was what came after. Social media blew up. Griffin had a Facebook page, and after the shooting, it became a war zone. The page was filled with heated comments. Some people defended him. Others called him a cold-blooded killer. The back and forth was so intense that the page was eventually shut down, but not before screenshots spread all over the city. One of those screenshots showed Griffin himself, posting a long and emotional message. It gave a look into his state of mind as he became one of the most wanted men in Delaware. In the post, he wrote, quote, "In this world, I guess it is okay to bully people, make attempts on innocent people's lives, threaten people's lives, and so on. A lot of y'all think you know the story, but you don't. A lot of y'all knew what was going on, but made no attempt to intervene. All of y'all are sitting and watching my family. My daughter, my mother, my girlfriend, my sisters, and my friends get their lives threatened. But once again, y'all are not saying anything about that. Justice will be served and the whole truth will come out. I will turn myself into the police once I am assured that every person in my life is protected. But once again, most of y'all think it is okay to threaten people's lives. To prosecutors, this was the voice of a man making excuses, a man trying to justify the unjustifiable. But to some of his supporters, it was proof that Griffin felt trapped, cornered, and under threat himself. 2 years later, in February of 2018, the case went to trial. By then, Wilmington had not forgotten the shades of blue shooting. And when the jury sat down to hear the evidence, the details stunned them. Witnesses testified about the birthday shoutout, about how Griffin had taken the microphone before the shots were fired. Prosecutors painted Griffin as a man full of rage, reckless, and willing to take a life in front of a crowded club. The defense, however, told a different story. They argued that Griffin believed his own life was in danger, that he acted out of fear, not out of malice. When the jury came back with its verdict, it was not straight first-degree murder. Instead, Griffin was found guilty of manslaughter under extreme emotional distress. He was also convicted of reckless endangering in the first degree and 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. In a separate bench trial, the judge also found him guilty of being a person prohibited from having a gun. Then came the sentence. On July 20th, 2018, the gavel fell. 90 years. That was the number handed down by the court. A sentence so long, it might as well have been life. Griffin, who had just turned 25 when the shooting happened, would now spend the rest of his life behind bars. But Griffin did not give up. He filed an appeal. His lawyers argued that the trial judge had failed to properly instruct the jury on self-defense. They said the law had not been applied fairly, that the jury had not been given the chance to fully consider whether Griffin had been protecting himself. For 2 years, the appeal worked its way through the system. Then, in March of 2020, the Delaware Supreme Court issued its ruling. The justices rejected Griffin's claims. They said the jury had been properly instructed. They said the trial had been fair, and they upheld the convictions. The door slammed shut on Griffin's last chance at freedom. From that April night in 2016 to the Supreme Court decision in 2020, the story of Tyerin Griffin became another Wilmington tragedy. Another young man gone, another family grieving, another life lost to gunfire. For Mangrum's family, it was the pain of losing a son who never came home. For Griffin's family, it was the pain of watching him be locked away forever. What makes the story sting even more is the way it started. A birthday celebration, a simple shout out on the mic, a moment that could have been harmless, but instead turned deadly. In Wilmington, people still talk about it. The night when shades of blue turned from a party spot into a crime scene. The night a 25th birthday turned into a 90-year sentence. And the night a shout out on the microphone became the opening line in a murder story that will never be forgotten.